the topic of this session is a modern learner, and how do we make learning reach a modern learner, right? So if I can look around this room, can you tell me, can you spot the modern learner in this room? Everybody? Okay. So the word modern learner was really coined by Josh Person, right? And the characteristics that he attributed to a modern learner are someone who's in an environment where content and learning needs change rapidly, right? So if I say that a learner is the talent in the organization, I also mean that that learner is really acting as a fulcrum for the organization's innovation, a fulcrum for the organization's strategy, and a fulcrum for the organization's money as well, right? So there was a workplace report in 2018 that really indicated that 94% of your employees, 94, register the number, 94% of your employees in any organization will stick to you if they see value in the learning that they receive within that organization, right? Look at our attrition percentages and think how much of an impact you could have on attrition if you could allow learning to support your learners. We are designing for a very diverse, very dynamic, very prolific group of people right now. So it's important for us to start at the very basic, right? So in fact, in today's session, I thought it would be great to have flipped the conversation and started where it all began, with the learners. So I'll invite Navata to start. Navata, can you tell me who is a modern learner?
Right. Hi everyone, this is Navata. I don't know whether I'm audible or not, but no.
Why don't you take this?
See, this is the point. I'm not habituated to this typical way of talking. I'm more into standing and talking and delivering, so this is new to me. Yes, this is a learning. So I'm a modern learner. Thank you so much for supporting. I am Navata and I am from NTT Data. So been in this industry since 12 years now, and continuing to that, I'm still a modern learner, and I kind of have dealt with many Gen Zs and millennials in my career, whether we're maybe designing a learning path for them or career. So out of all this drama that we've been hearing and listening, so the main point, let me come to that, is the enthusiasm is what drives a learner. And to me, especially out of my experience, I want to talk is if we give a learner the clarity or the clear path in where he goes or she goes in the next 2-3 years in his or her current career, I think that what the learner drives to step into at least the first step and then take it ahead. So that's what I believe who is a modern learner. And covering that the enthusiasm of the learner, okay, and the zeal to perform faster is the more. So you need to fulfill all the needs of the learners. So you need to give him that path. Okay, now this is where you are. This is where you will go in the next 2 years, and this is how you're gonna achieve. Walk on this path. So that's something I have experience. We've designed programs in such a way so that there is no second thought while they have this journey. What if I want to quit right now? They don't have these second thoughts, right? So they know where they have to go and they know what they're doing. So the clear goal, no matter how much management comes in the middle or whatever, but L&D does this job, right? L&D is always there to talk from the management, from the learner's perspective. So I believe you need to set the goals very straight and clear.
Sure. Thank you. And to take your point forward, maybe I invite Shiv. Shiv, who or what influences a modern learner?
Okay, so when we talk about the influence, when it comes to learning, influencing people to learn is something pretty difficult. If you have to influence people to buy something or if I have to lure them to get something else, it's pretty easy. So when we talk about influencing learners, who can influence? Out of a recent project that we did, we realized that, peers can be the best influence for learning. Giving a very simple example of the project that we did. I was talking about this in a few of the networking connects as well. Right, so we, in our organization, we have a concept called as micro company, which is within our own organization, there are about like 160 micro companies that are established. These micro companies are run by people who are less than 3 to 4 years of experience. If you become a team leader, you are not eligible to be part of the micro company. So this is a concept that we are running in, and there are about like 3,000 people who are part of the micro company. Now, there is a concept called as, when we say micro company, they have to take care of all their HR needs, they have to take care of their IT needs, learning needs, and all those areas. Now, this year when we launched a particular program, when I compare the program that we launched last year and this year, previous year we have to go and ask people to nominate. We send out flyers, we do roadshows. People will take it, some of them might not even. Now when the micro company came in, there is an L&D SPOC, who is my point of contact. Instead of now reaching to 3,000 people, I'm reaching to 159, 160 people. And these people are able to absolutely influence. Very recent data, if I have to talk about, day before we announced a course on social mindset. It's about the beginner's mindset. In about a day's time, 24 hours, 950 people completed that course. It's a gamified learning that we brought in. And who influenced them? Now, it's his own peer who was able to really influence people, tell them, it's valuable for them to take it. The first point of influence for me, and the second point of influence, I would say, is the business leader. Within my own organization, I've seen certain business verticals inclined towards learning. When we wanted to really understand how is this possible, it's that business leader who has set that culture for their team. Now, learning is not put on the back burner. Now, learning is part of your KRA. When I've read their business KRAs, there is a OKR that we wrote, which has got connection to L&D. They are supposed to finish certain hours of learning to be eligible for their incentives. So that's the culture that the BU leader is about to set. So for me, it's the peer and the business leader will be two primary influencing factors for people to learn.
Great, thank you so much. So we heard about learning path, we heard about business leaders and peers being able to influence which learning path and how they take that learning path. Archana, a question for you. What do you think motivates any one of us? We are all modern learners. What do you think motivates us to learn something new, to pick up a new skill, to do something that we haven't done before?
So I'll start off with maybe adding my bit to the modern learner. So the modern learner is multi-generational, has Gen Zs, baby boomers, Gen X. We have people who are learning for different reasons, professional, personal, intrinsically motivated people who are learning only because they have their appraisals, and it's a mandatory training that they have to go through. Then there are people who are having different styles of learning. There are people who are auditory learners, visual learners. There are people who can learn only from TikTok videos and YouTube videos and don't like reading. So that is the kind of modern learner that we're talking about. All of this in a VUCA world, where the technology is changing, situations are changing, it's so complex. A skill is only applicable for 18 months nowadays. Things are changing at that kind of a fast pace. Now, so coming to what Shiva was saying, so I was just writing it down. What are some of the things that influences under such circumstances? I would go back to one of the learning theories, right? We all talk about the 10, 20, 70, right? I would say peer-to-peer, absolutely game on. And then 70% is what we attributed to our OJT or the self-learning. I would call that as culture. What is the organization that I'm working for? What are the people who I'm seeing on a daily basis? How are the leaders behaving? Is learning, unlearning, relearning continuously talked about? Is upskilling an agenda, right? Are L&D people valued as the most important people and not a good to have kind of a function, right? Who's continuously going around asking for money, right? and are boldly asked about the ROIs, right? So I would say culture and peers, absolutely. Now coming to the question that you had asked me, which I forgot.
What motivates someone to learn something new?
Depends upon what I'm looking for, right? Depends upon the kind of learner that I am. Depends upon, am I somebody who likes things structured? Depends upon, the first and the foremost thing that I would look at to motivate a learner is answer the question, what's in it for me, right? After I know what the learner wants to learn, right? The second thing is I would make it accessible. I would make it something which is available on the go, which is something which is available for me, allows me to learn at my pace, which allows me to, take it up the way I like it, is a multi-pronged approach, catering to all the different type of learners that we are. And then the last thing that I would look at, which would really motivate me, Ipshita, is it something which is shown as valued? Is my learning valued? And it does not have to be just, appraisal, or it does not have to be the next promotion which says that I have the certification. But Manish, you were talking about the fact that, am I seen as the Google Baba? Am I called as an SME to answer questions? Am I seen somebody as, that is what would motivate me. Right, and that would be a high for me.
So the visibility.
Yeah.
The visibility and the acknowledgement that.
Acknowledgement.
Hey,
that is rewarding for me, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Superb. Thank you. Go ahead.
To the motivation, right? So some sort of this motivational activities we've been doing in NTT. So it's mandatory for us to do the certification, get the accreditation for all. I'm sure many of you know about it. So, and we keep on asking people, come do the certification. At this quarter, we need 10 certifications. This quarter, we need that. And trust me, nobody comes home. We pay the SAP license hubs, or we pay how much ever the LMS is. Nobody does it. So what we have started doing, as you said, recognition, right? Recognition plus reward. What not we had to give the learners to just do the certifications. Right, so displaying their pictures in our local jam pages or circulating the mails, right? And many of that, and kind of popping that the achiever, fly hires of the month. That's the name that I had to give just to motivate them to bring in more and more certifications. But having said all that, all these learnings that we're doing right now, okay, the learning path we design, whatever the courses that we assign, be it technical, in combination with the behavioral and communication, everything has to be implemented in your daily work job. If that is not getting implemented, trust me, you're learning going nowhere. So
you're talking about the applicability of learning.
Yes. Otherwise, my motivation is zero. I'm learning something I'm not using every day here. So what's the point, right? So that's where I see motivation as a modern learner comes from.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's see what learners themselves said. There was a poll that got released. So this is what a learner says. As a modern learner, my key consideration is the range of learning modalities. Yes, I think you need to refresh this. Sure, I'm coming.
It's always a bad idea to grab the mic last, right? Because everything that we thought to talk, right, it's been already finished. But let me share some.
Sure,
example.
Absolutely.
Let me share some example from my organization. I'm from Tech Mahindra, right? And 160K employees, right? It's not easy to manage the L&D program for that. Initially, it was a centralized team, but we found that it is not truly personalized when we have that kind of a centralized initiative for all the 160K employees. So we decentralized the model, right? So we have core centralized team to take care of platform standardization, setting up SOPs, right? Making that L&D programs aligned to the business outcomes and other stuff. But implementations of the training programs is really localized. So think global and act local. So that's the kind of thing.
That's the strategy, learning strategy that you follow.
Strategy. And one more point I would like to register. Archana was mentioning about we are very modest, right? So we always go to business and ask for budget. But we have to think how to market ourselves better, right? So I think last 2-3 years it's been really working well. I have seen organizations, L&D managers who are marketing better in terms of return on investment, the results they are making from the programs, right? Making more marketable learning programs. That's actually a game changer. Then you will actually have business lined with you to check with you what kind of learning programs we can initiate for my business unit. So it's as simple as that, right? You take Apple strategy. It is a marketing organization. So Apple salesmen will not come to us. We have to queue up and then buy the mobiles and whatever service, because it's purely a marketing organization. So when we take as an L&D leaders a marketing approach, market ourselves with the results, right? I think getting an investment or getting budget should not be a concern. That's my.
Great, thank you so much for sharing those insights, Anand. And I wanted to get back to the questions that got answered. It says that a modern learner is looking for a range of learning modalities. They're looking for up-to-date training. They need better access to training, and then they also believe that learning can't stop. So what's next? So it seems like a learner needs everything, right? Which then comes to us. As a learning professional, how do we cater to everything, right? So then I come to you, Anand. You already started talking about the strategy that you're implementing to work. So as a learning professional, how are you adapting, or what training strategy are you adopting in your organization that allows you to let the learning reach that learner?
Especially for the modern learners category, right? So I think fellow panelists summarized well the characteristics of a modern day learner, right? Their learning attention is, because they are distracted, it's a distracting well. In fact, even when we do a training programs, right, we can't sit for a 1-hour training program, so we have to take a break. In between, there are a lot of distractions. So definitely micro learning strategy, right? I'm sure everyone is implementing. But I'll just even give a thought on like how we are doing, right? So some of the webinars that we do with the technical leaders, right? So being recorded like using Teams and any other things. That will be available in our Vimeo or K-Point kind of video repositories. But what we do is we don't give that 1-hour training program as it is. Okay, we break it into chunk of videos, right? Metadata to the 15 minutes, 10 minutes content, right? So make descriptions for the videos so that those contents become discoverable, right? So the learners don't have to watch for the 1-hour video to get the 15 minutes information that he is looking for. So we'll have to make it more chunked, more available to the learners' demand, right? Because they're all modern learners, right? Like learning the flow of work, right? So don't give me a training program which is taking me to 1 year, right? So we really don't know, right? On the room, no one knows that how much we are going to retain them for next 6 months or 1 year, right? It's all volatile world. So learning in the flow of work is what we are adopting, and I think that's a strategy.
Great. Great, thank you so much, Anand. What about the rest of the panelists? What are some learning strategies you're adopting?
Especially with the modern learners, social learning seems to be working out really well, right? So while we did a lot of buzz about micro learning, if you currently look at it, it has gone to the next level now. It's nano learning now, right? So we've moved from a micro learning to a nano learning because that's the attention span that they come up with. Gone are the days where they sit for 8 hours and things. Now it's 8 hours is a luxury for the business and for the learners. Yes. Yeah.
8 minutes is the attention span.
Right. So.
Hook your audience in 6 seconds.
6 seconds. That's right.
That's as much as a goldfish. You hook your audience in 6 seconds.
Unless you don't do that, they're not going to come back to you. So when we wanted to invest on social learning, one thing that we recently did is, I'm sure most of us will be aware of this platform called as Yammer, the corporate social media thing. So that's where we have gone now, right? So most of the stories that we want to talk about are, we've gone into a level of a minute reels and shorts talking about what that piece is. Like what you spoke about, chunking that entire video into 10 minutes. Now, for them to go to the 10 minutes, we want to put that 1 minute thing that's going to make, it's basically the clickbait kind of a thing that we do. But now, this picked up really well. Now what happened is there are a lot of people who wanted to contribute. The moment you talk that language of shorts, reels, you do this, now people want to voluntarily come and contribute more of the content. Now, none of our BU head messages are 45 minutes, 30 minutes. Now, that has come down to a minute now. So that way, that nano learning is definitely working out. So now what we have done is L&D has taken a big chunk of contribution that we will do to Yama. And equally, we are also asking the businesses also to put their domain-related programs onto this. We run our contest, we run our poll, like what we did now. Even when we wanted to launch a program, we wanted to run the poll and ask people as to how does this as an idea sound to you. Now that is giving us a lot of insights, and that gives the, yes, that definitely helps in that place.
Thank you. What about you, Archana?
We obviously have to kind of create a strategy which is multi-pronged, because we talked about the fact that the learners are different, learning styles are different, expectations from learning from the people as well as from the business is very different. From micro learning to nano learning to technology-led learning. One thing that I personally propagate a lot is a lot of personalized learning, which is a part of a lot of adaptive learning, right? Coaching, mentoring, right? And that is where I bring in the continuous feedback, rather feed forward, right? And that is where I think, as our panel discussion name suggests, right? The role of the manager in improving learning, creating a learning culture. So that is something that I would say needs to be built into the strategy that we are creating for learning. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Navata, what are your
I think
thoughts?
almost all the points are covered, but again, I want to circle back to one thing. Pandemic, we had introduced micro-learning, mobile learning, bite-sized, LinkedIn learning, everything we have adapted. So all was successful because that was pandemic. Obviously, there was no human touch. They can't come to office. We can't see. But now, once we're done, 2021, I think 2022, I think everybody's back to office. But that style of learning is no more successful as it was successful during those 2 years of pandemic. And this is a serious scenario that I have observed, or we as an industry has observed, that there was no more success. So what is it that they need? Be it millennials, be it Gen Zs, leadership, anyone, all that they need is a human touch now, right? So experiential learning is the trend, and now we're bringing everybody back to the office. So obviously it's a classroom training, outbound programs, be it technical, be it anything topic you take, behavioral, but what we need is the connect, and that's actually back in trend as it was before COVID, and now we started breaking our heads, coming out of the LXPs and all the, the LMSs and all, and then how we motivate them to actually, learn. So what we're doing is we taking them out somewhere, making them play games, team connect, and more like your technology connect, giving them some scenarios, case scenarios, and then put them back to the bite-sized, bit-sized learning so that they can connect what they were facing and what they were learning. So this is one of the strategies that we started now, already implementing it, and this is again, that's what every learner now wanted, just like the Creamstone, I hope everybody is aware of Creamstone. So you go there, you don't know what to do, what to pick up. So they've introduced that you can taste anything, and then you pick up what you want. So that's exactly what we're doing, giving them the taste of how it's going to be. How? By practically bringing them onto the ground, right, and make them play something, not the digi games, but the real games, and then give them, okay, go back, now come on, do the homework, enough. So I think that's...
Sure.
So just to add one more point, right, so learning roles and skills needs to be democratized as well, right, so it's not role-based program anymore. So we thought about this like 3-4 years back, right, so in TechM, what we have done is we have something called SKU, right? Skill units. So I think as we speak, we have around 4,500 to 5,000 skill sets, skill units in TechM. That can be clubbed and assembled together for project needs. So yes, we may have project managers, we may have developers, full stack and all, but based on certain needs of the customers, my SKUs will change. if I assign a programmer to a specific project, apart from the programming particular role he is playing, there might be 2-3 skills that my customer is looking for. It have to be added, right? So he has to take those training alone. You don't have to, because basically he's a programmer. He knows technical aspect, but there are 2-3 functional aspect or domain aspect, right? So those things we need to cover. So we cover that into as an SKUs, and we have something called NAD, New Age Delivery Platform, which take care of delivery, programming, planning, and do a competency analysis, find the skill gap, what needs to be done, and then only do those skill training program alone, so that you are equipped for the particular project. And project to project, my skill changes, right? And that's what model learners looks like. I'm not redundant anymore. You know, so now AI is coming in, Metaverse coming in, right?
Absolutely.
So those kind of programs I'm learning. Apart from my 7 skills, I'm adding 3 more skills to my
repository of skills.
Repository. That is my career.
Right.
And I think you were mentioning about 2018 report, right? So why people are leaving organization, right? Arapa done a similar thing to 2021, Great Indian Resignation, right? So top 3 things is actually toxic bosses, toxic workplace, and my values are not aligned with my organization value, right? I may have a different value as a person. If that is not aligned with the organization thing, obviously people will tend to leave, irrespective of whatever we do for the L&D program.
Sure.
So
Sure. You had to say
So what you were saying, Anand, I was just writing down that, you know, the skills have to be categorized at this point of time as skills that I need absolutely for doing my work. What are some of the futuristic skills that I need to upgrade myself to? And then to the next level, what's in it for you? Aspirational skills that you would want, right? Because at the end of the day, we have to look at the learners and do something which makes them feel worthwhile. The whole thing being something which is important for them, right? That the organization is not only interested in investing in me because I can get the work done, but also is invested in me, literally.
Right.
You know, where they would want to kind of pay for or, you know, make time for my aspirations so that I can grow. So I think that's something which is very important.
I love the verbiage that you use, not just investing in me, but also invested in me.
Yeah.
That's an amazing point that you brought forward. I think in addition to what all of you said, like a clear theme that I can see is definitely how do you chunk your learning? What are the various modalities that you can use, starting from nano to videos to people speaking to you to physical experiential learning. That came out as another theme. How are you communicating about what's available to your learners came out as a theme, where you spoke about the availability of different things and learners knowing it. I think I would like to add a point here. Learning is super accessible right now. I can Google and learn how to write a formula on Excel. I don't need specifically for an Ipshita and her team to come and tell me how to do that. I don't need to wait for Ipshita, right? I pay 220 rupees on Udemy and I have a course that teaches me about nanotechnology, which doesn't even relate to me right now. I'm lying down on the bed and scrolling. You mentioned TikTok videos. I'm learning through those TikTok videos. In fact, my 7-year-old tells me that my English vocabulary was honed because I watched videos. Imagine the awareness that a 7-year-old has. Somebody was talking about, I think you were talking about Gen Alpha. That's my Gen Alpha, right? So in context of learning being available very readily and in formats that a learner wants at any point in time, what really becomes super important for L&D professionals is to cultivate the application of that knowledge in context of the organization that you're in. I would like to call it institutional knowledge, right? Yes, Bhaskar.
In my organization, I have seen this, and I'm sharing a problem, probably it relates to others also, that the amount of interest shown in learning by the younger generation. Let's say younger generation is people with 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years experience versus those who are at a senior position, 15 years, 20 years. There's a huge difference. We generally, I did some study, and the reason was that we did certain programs, especially for the senior people. While they all felt that there was a need when we did the TNI, they all said that these are the problems that we have. We developed a module and that was agreed with their managers and all. But then when it came to implementation and delivery, the compliance used to be very, very low. Not more than 15%, 20% compliance for senior leaders. Whereas similar kind of programs that when we used to do for the more fresher kind of people, the compliance used to be usually above 90%. When I look back and try to understand how much they are investing in learning, in fact, I could see a stark difference. Those who were at senior positions were not investing more than probably about half an hour to 1 hour in their learning in a month. Whereas those who are in the younger generation, they were easily investing about 7 to 8 hours, or sometimes even more than that, in a month learning. The question is that, is it a problem that everyone is facing? Have you been able to address it in any way?
I'll go. See, I think the tools that we are using for skill development in organization, that's very critical, right? Through which we are measuring, and you are saying that leaders are not using, right? In my experience, they have certain different learning platforms, right, which may not be in our ecosystem, right? They would have subscribed to some other learning platforms, or they would have, following some blogs, following some LinkedIn reports, right, white papers, right? Because end of the day, that is what the knowledge that they are gaining from the market, and of course they are giving back to their business unit, and of course the L&D will talk, and then implementing certain skill sets for the particular business. So those platforms may not be available. The platforms which we might be having is more like compliance or skill development. Maybe leaders may actually, I'm not saying that that's not completely irrelevant, it may be, but the business knowledge that they wanted to be, that's the survival skill as a business leader. So maybe that's
Just if I may add, one thing I was able to completely relate when you were saying is, since I come from a mid-sized organization, when we ran a report, we wanted to identify the 0 days training of certain people. As you rightly said, when we looked at the 0 days and the tenure of the people, it was the more the tenure, the number of 0 days were pretty high. But we had a notion that these people are not ready to come to the training programs, that they're not ready to learn. But when we actually went close and spoke to some of them, we also understood similar to what Anand was talking about, right? They were learning. One major complaint that they had was, if it is more relevant, I'm ready to come in. While we have an answer saying that yes, it is relevant, you come in, we will be able to show you how relevant it is. But the major broad line that we were able to understand was, I don't think it is relevant for me at this given role, was something that we were able to constantly hear. So the reason I made this point is, when we were internally building our LXP portal, we have the development team who is building our own portal, we said we will give 2 options. One for the modern learners, where we said for them to pick programs, or for them to make choices of their own learning, we said we'll pick as many features that are available in the OTT platform and see if we can graft those ideas here so that their needs are taken care. Now what do we do with the senior ones? While they claim they are learning through white papers, they attend a lot of seminars, they go here, there's a lot of connect that they happen. So we said, let's give them a feature where they let us know what they have learned. Instead of we telling them that you did not attend my L&D offerings, you tell me where have you spent your time learning. It can be from a different platform, it can be in a different event. We wanted to see if that XAPI level information that can be brought from these people. We allowed people, we are now trying to give the freedom to people to let us know what they have learned and how relevant was that, and that gets validated at a different level, so that we told them that, okay, we will be able to consider that as your learning. We understood this when we ventured into the NASSCOM FSP portal, when we were talking about people are not attending training programs. When I downloaded a report from the NASSCOM Future Skills portal to see what courses they have completed, the data was reversed for us. The leaderboard showed people who were on my 0 days training program. So I said like, okay, I think there is something we have to look at from an organization perspective in terms of what we offer, and also give them the freedom to go and learn, and also let us know for the documentations or whatever purposes that we have, allow them to also add more to the database that we have.
Just to add to Shiv, right? There is also, training contributions that leaders have to make. I mean, in our organization, there is a metric, right? Not only you learn, but you also need to contribute to your business unit. So when a leader needs to make a training program, right? So to deliver to the business unit, I'm sure there are a lot of learnings that he has to go through to deliver a training program, right? So those things also be recorded apart with the recognition of learning.
That's a great point. That's a great point. So if I were to summarize what our panelists spoke about, there's a scope for formal learning, and there's also a scope for informal learning, right? And typically when we're measuring learning, we end up measuring what's visible to us, right? What you can tick off on an attendance sheet, what you can tick off on a completion. But really, what are some of the other avenues that you're enabling as part of your learning strategy that allows for unstructured, informal learning, right? That's perhaps a strategy that we need to start adopting going forward. Probably pay a lot more focus, because structured learning, like I said, is available everywhere. But what are some of those unstructured learning opportunities that we're able to attain? And from my perspective, I think today is one such learning opportunity for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm getting to learn from each one of you here on this dais, as well as from each one of you who is there. So for me, today is one of those examples that you spoke about, where I did not attend a training program, but I still ended up learning something new.
I would like to add one thing. Many organizations have stopped the learning hours and learning days as one of the KRAs completely. Because if you look at the catastrophe effect, right, as learners, we forget everything in 2 days anyways, right? So just coming in and doing a tick box exercise of attendance is not adding any value at all. What would add value is maybe you have hands-on practice, you have a culture where people are continuously talking about learning, you have multitude of options where you can go ahead and learn, right? It's an attitudinal thing, and it has to be something which is intrinsic. So a lot of organizations have completely done away with a monthly training calendar, number of learning days as one of the KRAs that's going to be tracked to see that are we a learning organization, right? So yeah.
Super.
Too much is too overwhelming. Basically, that's the thing that I follow. When you talk about the tick of the attendance, recently we had a funny incident where we had to do a mandatory POSH training, and obviously an external speaker comes, and then all of us join, and then the learners have become so it's kind of mandatory. They think, okay, now I have to say hi in the chat so that my attendance is ticked. So the entire inbox, the entire Teams chat is filled with hi, hi, hi. And then we had to stop them, bro, you don't need to do that. Come on, chill, it's okay. It's not a kind of thing that we're not cutting your salary down here. So too much is too overwhelming for the learners also, right? So again, every monthly programs, it's too much is again, too information is too much overwhelming, less is also not done. So I think somewhere we have to balance the right learning programs for them, not too much technicalities, not too much into communication and behavioral. Well, both of them actually have a very good impact on the career growth, undoubtedly, but somewhere we need to balance that. That's what I personally believe.
True, thank you so much for that. I think if I were to summarize the whole panel discussion today, what has come out or stood out very clearly is that what a modern learner needs is not really an enigma. It is pretty apparent. It's something all of us know, right? Because we ourselves are modern learners. What's really important is how do you bake in the relevance, how do you bake in the experience, how do you bake in the exposure of learning. That's what's important for a modern learner. With that, thank you panelists for this brilliant session. If there are questions, we are happy to take them now.
Sure.
bottoms-up approach, right? We have to differentiate between different cohorts, like E0 to E3. There is a different strategy, right? And then from E3 to E6, there's a different strategy. Even for executives, you need to have a different learning patterns. They will, it doesn't make sense for them to, put down all the online programs. So there are, I beg to differ on the learning hours, because that's a very big important metric. If people don't clock 40 hours, if an employee doesn't clock 40 hours in a year, he or she is graded red, yellow, amber, and green. So different strategies, it's like different folks for different strokes, right? And I kind of understand where he's coming from, right, Bhaskar, when he brought in that point. When we launched academies, meaning people, we wanted to career path them from L1 to L2, L2 to L3, we launched academies. People didn't sign up. They said, why should I? I want to get into big data. I want to get into, all the happenings of data science and all of that. We said, if you want to take this opportunity, then you get an opportunity to get promoted. You get an incentive. You get a hike. Then, we had about 400 to 500 people signing up. And then we have a problem of plenty now. So likewise, if we show the people a career path of what it is, what's it, today the generation is the Wi-Fi FM, I call it, right? What's it in for me? What's it in for me? Only then they'll sign up. If you force it on their show, they'll say, okay, what next? They'll start updating their resumes. So update tell them, show them the big picture, where you want to be, bring them the success stories, and voila, they'll really, we clocked 1 million for 40,000 odd people, close to 1 million hours we kind of logged. So those were the, tangible benefits. Similarly for executives, right, we sign up with large, universities, larger organizations. They go through a coaching, mentoring, and an executive program, where people get different facets of case studies and so on. So you kind of have a differentiated offerings from an L&D standpoint. We can't really go with what fits in for an L1. Even L1, L2, L3 itself, there are different variations. You will have to focus, give them the right strategies, tell them that if you do this, you get there. Some of the senior, the mid-management folks, they were not, whatever the programs or learnings that was mapped to them, when people didn't show up, the leadership said, don't expect promotions. If you don't complete those programs and don't come out successfully well, you won't get your promotions. Then everybody were on the job. So sometimes there has to be both tops down and bottoms up.
Valid point. You triggered a very interesting question in my mind, which is, what should our L&D team's USP be? Unique selling proposition. Anybody here? Anybody there?
My stance is very clear. I say that we are enablers. You tell us what is it that you want, we will enable it for you. And that is my USP. Because like there is a technical part of it, which is the knowledge that you need to know for doing the work that you're supposed to be doing. You have it already. There's enough and more which is available for you to kind of get it, right? What is the new thing that I can do? Futuristic, aspirational things. Make it worthwhile for you.
Sure.
I just want to add. I just want to add. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead, please.
No. You asked about the USP, right? So I was just thinking about it. See, how do you make learning democratic and make sure that everybody learns what they would want to learn or like to learn? And I think L&D.
But is that easy given all the budgetary constraints that we all spoke about?
Actually, it is. See, if you look at it, like somebody was talking about, it's not required to actually spend money every time for learning solutions. You can do a lot of things without spending money. A lot of open source things are available. We have a lot of tools that we already have invested in, which we don't use much, and we then go buy other systems and things like that on top of it, which is not required actually.
Agreed. So then what is the role that you and I are playing in the organization?
That's exactly. So if you look at it, you become an ambassador to all the managers. Managers should play the role of HR, should play the role of L&D. They should become learning partners for the, Shiva was talking about it, the SPOC that you have in different BUs. I think, if you can connect with every BU, have learning spokes everywhere. I think that's the role that L&D should play, and then it speaks for yourself, you know. That's what happens. And organization also, like every organization is very different. You know, organization to organization would be different. In fact, Archana was talking about learning credits and learning hours have been removed in different organizations. Absolutely true. But there are still organizations you actually go by that metrics, because there should be some metric, you know.
Yeah, I think the USP that you're talking about, let's give you a general you know, scenario, right? So we as an L&D professional, chalo, we come to a new organization, plan big. Okay, this is what the learning program is going to be for the next year. And for the leadership training, we're going to go call Dale Carnegie or somebody like that. From the ISB, we call the speakers, all the bigger plans, and we go to the business, and business says, there is no budget for this much. Cut down, no Rajamouli movie here, just a very basic movie is okay. So the USP stands there within the budget. You know, within that budget, what has been allocated to L&D, right? How well we can design within that budget the learning programs should be our USP. Talking about the recognition, we're talking about the learners' recognition. Somehow there was a challenge for us, as in we are an SAP enabler, so we have so many like kind of 20-30 technical trainings every month. So obviously I can't rely on external vendors for all these 20-30 trainers. So we have our internal SMEs who's actually delivering these sessions. So now, after 1 month or 2 months, they're also not interested to come and deliver the session. They'll be like, what do I do? Why do I waste my time and come and deliver? Now, I had to motivate them. You also have a rewards. You also have a recognition. Then I had to bring in the top trainers of the month so that we are recognizing them as well, along with the learners. So within the room, within the budget that is given by our business, how well you can prepare, plan, execute, implement the learning programs is my USP.
Sure.
When you spoke about the USP, the one thing that I would definitely advocate for is, let's make learning easy and available for people. If you're able to do both of it without making it complex, if it is easy and if it is available for people, I think half the battle is won. And that's where I wanted to advocating on the point I spoke about, having those L&D spokes. Those people became our brand ambassadors. Now my branding activity has slightly come down. I focus on these people, and that is also helping me set the culture in the organization. Now I'm working with people who are 3 and 4 years, and these people are becoming brand ambassadors. So that is setting the tone when they become managers, when they become team leaders. Now this is going to be definitely with them. They know that, yeah, as an L&D spoke, I've done that for my team. I've seen that benefit coming my way. So I think if these two things are properly done, I believe learning is available for everyone.
Thank you. As a parting thought, and perhaps if we have another opportunity to have tea, we could have deeper discussions. But a parting thought to me is, we're all speaking of the now. I'm thinking of the future of learning, right? How do we keep ourselves relevant in this space where learning is so already accessible, free, easy, right? And in my mind, the answer that I always come back with is, my role as a learning professional is to make the content relevant to my organization, to my position in that organization, right? And I think that's a big player. That's going to turn out to be a big player for us in the next 5 to 10 years. We're all going to be spending time not in tracking attendance, but really in tracking the relevance of the learning. And it goes back to one of the earlier sessions that we had on tracking the ROI. I guess increasingly it's going to be important for us as a learning function to think deeper about what is the ROI that you want to track. And it's good to start thinking about it now than in the future when you've already implemented a learning program. You have to always think about what your ROI is going to be before you start the learning program or the learning initiative. So on that positive thought, I know we're above time. We will end.